My pleasure to open the last part of today's program here in the Golden Hall of Liechtenstein Palace. As I told at the beginning, this year European Summit, we will continue our tradition of bestowing an award. Award for people whose ideas and activities shape Europe, people who are actively advocating for a common prosperous and peaceful European future. Let me remind you that last year, the Vision for Europe Award was given to Karel Schwarzenberg, one of the founding fathers of modern Czech diplomacy, who recently, unfortunately, left us. Czechia and Europe has lost a lot, but a huge legacy and inspiration remain. Inspiration for diplomats, politicians, and also for the whole European society. I personally hope that more and more personalities will fight so hard for freedom, for democracy, and for European values and cooperation. And I also hope that every year we will have the possibility to award new person and to talk about a new or another story of person who is dedicated to a European spirit. And the time to do this is right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite here to the stage Věra Jourová, Vice President of the European Commission. Please, Ms. Jourová, take a seat. And it is also my pleasure to welcome here also Mr. Tomáš Dub, Czech Deputy Minister of European Affairs, as he will bestow the award. Please, Mr. Dub, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to stand before you today to present the Vision for Europe Award. Before doing so, I would like to share a few words about the person to whom this esteemed award rightfully belongs, Věra Jourová. Věra Jourová is an outstanding Czech politician and the current Vice President of the European Commission. Her journey in European politics has been marked by determination, the overcoming of challenges, and a steadfast dedication to the principles and values that bind us together as Europeans. Her path to becoming a key figure in European politics wasn't without challenges. She faced them head-on, demonstrating resilience and proving that relying on freedom and justice is the right way to go. Her ability to navigate and overcome wrongful persecution, particularly formidable challenge in the realm of politics, speaks volumes about her character in the face of adversity. Věra Jourová has made a profound impact on the European landscape. Her vision for Europe extends beyond borders, encompassing a dedication to strengthening democracy and safeguarding human rights. Through her advocacy, she made a genuine impact in initiatives against disinformation, ensuring media pluralism, and preserving fundamental freedoms such as protection of personal data, or striving that rules that govern our offline world do apply also online. In a sense, she has been a steadfast guardian of the integrity of democratic institutions across the European Union. Another vital aspect of her vision is upholding the rule of law within the European Union. She has been at the forefront of initiatives to ensure that all member states adhere to legal principles and respect democratic norms. Mrs. Věra Jourová's decade-long service as a member of the European Commission will be remembered. Her dedication to fostering a more united and prosperous Europe serves as an inspiration to future generations of European leaders. Dear Věra, thank you for everything. Your dedication has not only shaped Europe's present, but also laid the foundation for a more promising future.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I am really honored and humbled even after hearing the words of Mr. Dub about being granted the prize, the Vision for Europe Award, which I find to be a recognition not only of my work, but also of my team. I have somewhere here Monika Ladmanová. Where are you, Monika? She was 8 years with me in the cabinet. Dan Brown, Eduard Hulicius. I am so thankful for my team for all achievements, which also Mr. Deputy Minister mentioned here. I have to say one thing at the beginning. I travel a lot in my job. I go to different continents, different countries, different regimes even. And on many places I felt or I saw that somebody is opening the door for me, helping me to go in. And I speak about three personalities: the gatekeepers and those who were helping me to open the door were always Václav Havel, Madeleine Albright, and Karel Schwarzenberg, because these three personalities were well known globally, and I have to say that it was always a great chance for me to have the door open, but also not to disappoint by what I say and what I do in the room, and to keep the good name of Czech personalities, also Czech politics, high. I understood that my task for today is to share with you my vision of Europe. It will be long, in spite of the fact that I could summarize my idea about the vision for Europe as a plan, as a direction of travel. I can summarize it in one sentence. I think that it's simple. Europe should remain a good address for people to live, to study, to work, to make free life choices, and to enjoy the space of freedom. And to achieve that, it's a hard work, continuous hard work, because we have not made it forever. There was some naive idea, I remember those times, I call it era of innocence, sometimes around 2014-15 still, when we thought that we live some kind of a lucky end of history, when we don't have to fight for the basic values like democracy, freedoms, fundamental rights, and rule of law. We now see that it requires a lot of everyday hard work from all of us. In my journey, in my work in the Commission, and you know, I received an easy portfolio of values. It's helpful to remember what kind of Europe we had as Czechs and Slovaks before 1989, because this is exactly that kind of Europe we don't want, or I don't want to see again. Freedom of speech, free media, forget it. You are very young here in the audience, I can see. So I will share with you my memories. Forget it. Free media, it didn't exist. One official doctrine, everybody who wanted to deviate from it was under the risk of jail. Independent judges, forget it, because the judges' task was to serve the party and the state, not the law and the citizens. Suppressed civil society, non-existent civil society, in fact. Planned economy, which we all saw that it is going in the direction of crash, but still we had to live in it. No respect for the truth, and just propaganda. So this is helping me in my everyday work to remember this is what we must not see anymore in Europe. So I want to speak about two subvisions under my simple main vision of keeping Europe a good address for people. The first one is modern Europe, modern democratic Europe. And the second vision, stronger, much stronger Europe as a global player. The first one, modern democratic Europe. I have been asked very often whether democracy can survive digitalization and artificial intelligence. And my answer is, because I do not belong to the alarmists or paranoid people who say technologies will kill everything we know, I always say it can enhance democracy. It can help to develop participatory democracy, open up, to make closer link between the politicians and the citizens, more direct communication. But at the same time, we have to address the risks which are stemming from the digitalization. And so it's part of my work now that we really try hard to find the money to invest in technologies so that they help to create the modern Europe and to attract the big brains to Europe and to help the people to get the skills to be able to work on this European technological dream. And at the same time, doing that, supporting digitalization and modern technologies, we have to bear in mind that it won't be easy to adapt to it. Not everybody will have an easy path to adapt to the new technological world. So when working in this field, I always have in mind that in all that technological noise, Europe must not lose the soul. Europe must not lose the spirit, the values, and Europe must not lose itself. And ladies and gentlemen, if I would have been honored to speak here maybe 2-3 months ago, at this place, in this moment, I would speak about the need of everyday hard work to support democracy at its best, old good democracy in new shape, being shaped also by technological development. I would speak about checks and balances. I would have spoken about respect for human dignity and fundamental rights, freedom of speech, honesty and solidarity. I would have spoken about all the things which Jan Patočka was thinking about. I think it was him who was trying to find out what are the things which are worth suffering, these universal values. I wanted to speak about them as well today, but I cannot leave it too much space because I cannot help it. I think that we are losing ourselves very easily. Again, in Europe, we see David stars on the buildings. In Berlin, in Paris, in many other places. And after so many years of saying never again, we see it again. And I remember many speeches I gave. When I did something I would call, maybe a little bit in awkward English, historical bashing. I was referring to the 30s of the last century. And I was asking, how was it possible that the society was so indifferent, so passive, when they saw the increased hatred and violence against the Jewish compatriots? We are there again. So I think that all of us who have some influence in the society have to raise voice and say, never again, we will not let it happen again. And I have to add also one thing, that the Russian aggression in Ukraine and the Middle East war, which has this mirroring in Europe and in the United States and many other places, these horrible new realities are giving us now the historical chance to recognize clearly what is the good and what is the evil, and to behave in the right go into the right direction and do the right things. This is the historical chance, because we see that we failed this chance in the previous century. Again, I think it was Jaroslav Seifert who compared the last century with the slaughter wreck full of blood. I have to say never again, and it's the task for all of us. So this is the chance to take lesson and remain ourselves. Indifference and passivity is blessing the evil. And we politicians cannot do this magic that we will wake up and not let these things happen. We cannot do it ourselves. I have to come back to the digital topic because we share the power with digital gods. When I went for the first time to Silicon Valley in 2016 or 17, you know, who know me, I sometimes make very incorrect jokes, and I said, I go to US to kiss the rings of the digital gods. It was before GDPR. Then the gods started to understand that in the EU we mean it, that we want regulation for the digital space. But I felt that they have the power, which is not balanced with responsibility. I remember how bizarre it was when the bosses of the big tech asked me in Silicon Valley in 2017, what is it, Catalonia? What should we think about that? We have millions of requests to kill this or that website or link of communication. And I realized that in Silicon Valley, they have the power to influence what's happening in Spain. And I realized we have to start thinking about decreasing the power, about the smart, hopefully proportionate regulation, but also we have to cooperate with them. And I remember well, it was in 2018, sometimes at the Congress of Liberals, I said, you will see we will have one day to choose between Zuckerberg and Putin. It was shocking for many, but I thought this is the proper thing to say because we cannot win all the battles. We need allies, and to have digital gods as allies, for the moment, it's the most smart decision we are making. So indeed, we are regulating, but at the same time, we discuss with them how to decrease the level of hatred online and how to decrease the risk that this hate speech will spill over to the real world, which is, by the way, already happening. So I think that it was right after the invasion of Russia to Ukraine that I asked the platforms, now choose the right side of the history. So I don't want to say that it's ideal, but we need to cooperate and we need to regulate at the same time. Digital space, it's our choice if it will be the space used well for education, communication, connecting people, enlightenment, or hatred, brainwashing, and manipulation. And still, it's our choice to work in the direction of the first option, so the technology serving the people. The same applies when it comes to artificial intelligence, which we now try to start regulating to diminish, to minimize the risk of the possible bad use of artificial intelligence. What we are doing now is to set the rules in the way which will always enable us, human beings, to govern the AI and not to let the AI to govern us. In other words, we tried to create the safeguards or the guarantee that the tiger will not leave the cage. And again, for Europe, it's a double thing. AI might be a fantastic chance, at the same time, big risk. I think I speak too long, and still I need to share with you how I see the vision of stronger Europe on the global scene. Do you want to hear it? Still, you are very patient. Thank you for that. Again, I have to refer to the era of innocence. I remember the times when I was starting my journey in the European Commission 2014, we still lived in some kind of dream or doctrine of lucky complacency that to be just economic tiger, it's enough for Europe. And we now see that this is not true anymore. And it's the historical necessity for us to react on global or external big moves and big challenges. We need to collect all the courage we have to grow geographically, politically, to become more resilient, less dependent on those who do not hesitate to abuse our dependencies. We need to do everything to be able to efficiently defend ourselves, our interest in the world, but also our own security and our own autonomy. We have to speak more and do more when it comes to the European economic security in the broadest sense, but not only economic security, cybersecurity, food security, many other sectors might be under big threat. And we have to define the threats and take necessary efficient measures. We have to reconfigure our partnerships in the world. We need diversity and to pay with trust to those who deserve it, expecting the same from us. We have to strengthen our alliances. Now it's quite obvious that we need strong alliance with the rest of democratic world. The world development is varying. At this moment, 72% of people live in authoritarian regimes. The rest are democracies. And we need to cooperate and we need to try with all possible means to enlarge our influence also on the regimes where democracy is not at home. We should become more transactional and demanding in our trade agreements. Of course, without forgetting to take permanent pressure or to make a permanent pressure on human rights and values. We need to defend Europe better. We need to increase significantly investments in defense, in security. We need to strengthen our cooperation with NATO. We need to do much more against foreign manipulation and interference and foreign propaganda. This is the core of my job, as Mr. Vice Prime Minister mentioned. Yes, we do a lot against foreign propaganda and disinformation, which we define as disinformation produced in a coordinated manner with the intention to do harm to the society. It does have definition. The disinformation which we have to fight against has definition. It's not true what I hear very often. We cannot fight against something we cannot define. It has definition and we work with it. Today in the afternoon I got the green light for the Defense of Democracy package, which should shed light on the foreign contracts which are paid by the third country governments in order to influence the European political decisions. And so there are still a lot of things to do to defend Europe in the best possible way. Speaking about foreign propaganda, especially Russian propaganda, it's a multi-million weapon turned against us. And I said it already in 2014, after invasion to Crimea. And I repeated it publicly in 2020, that disinformation is the part of Russian military doctrine, and it's well paid. As a consequence, I appeared on the Russian sanctions list as the only high-level European politicians. So, Mr. Deputy Minister, this is not the first award I received. We have to defend Europe against unfair imports of goods on steroids. And, you know, here I have in mind, especially China, we have to work more and more intensively with the United States on common programs. And we have to work more against organized, irregular migration, which is a big threat to Europe. So the advice. I will be leaving soon, but I will have advice for my followers. So to be stronger in world, in global scope, we should remain open, self-confident, strategic, and assertive if needs to be. Ladies and gentlemen, last thing to mention under the chapter of Let's Grow Geopolitically, of course, enlargement. We need to open the gate for new countries. It's a historical necessity to enlarge the territory of the EU. I am very much in favor of staged enlargement. So first invite the countries to our single market, to different technological investments, many things on the labor market. There is a very big scope for cooperation without full membership. I think that we need to invite the countries to cooperate more on cybersecurity and defense. And I think that this is becoming the truth because already we offered the Western Balkan countries such strategy, and we don't hear anymore this is just the excuse for not taking us fully in. I think that old Europe must get ready for newcomers. And we have to manage it so that it's a win-win situation. It needs to have reasonable timeline and merit-based process. So none of those countries which want to join the EU will have it for free. There is no fast track for anyone. There is one change, big change, when we discussed the enlargement in 2015. I remember very well Jean-Claude Juncker, who said strict no enlargement during my mandate. It was the situation when Europe could say noble no, a little bit high nose. I would even say a little bit arrogant. Now we are in a completely different situation because European Union needs to enlarge and needs to invite new member states so that to be stronger exactly in that global competition. So I think that this isn't the new positioning, which is not weakening the EU, but I think it's already a big progress that we will realize that. It's Europe's existential strategic interest. So let's do it, and let's do it in a reasonable time. I am going to Ukraine on Sunday this week. I want to speak to the people who are leading the anti-corruption bodies, Ministry of Justice, and the detectives, and the people whose task is to check the declarations of assets, and whose task is to fight against oligarchs. These people, in my view, are very brave and courageous. I want to speak to them. I want to hear how these institutions are ready to fight against corruption in Ukraine. And I want to go there to understand and to support Ukraine, because I think that it's worth admiring what they are doing when the bombs are falling on their heads. And I want to say one last thing on enlargement. Ukrainians are the only nation which signed their application for the EU membership by their own blood. And the first victims of that were in Maidan many years ago. So this is what I wanted to share with you, my vision of good address, stronger abroad or in the world, and modern democracy inside. I will be watching whether this vision is coming true. I would wish to see that. And I would like all of us to take part of the tasks in that direction, because, of course, it's not a just job for the Commission or the politicians. Thank you very much.
Dear Vice President, dear Deputy Minister, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for inspiring discussions and speeches.